Okay. Hello. Welcome.
Hi, how are
So
you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Do you like to go by Nisaya? Am I saying it right?
My stage name is Nisayas, like with the
Okay.
S.
Oh yeah. All right. Nisayas here from Actus Melodi and a couple other bands, right? Can you tell us
hmm
about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a singer and I work with different kinds of bands. So right now I have like four bands. But one is an original band, which is Actus Melody, and then the other three right now are tribute bands. So, just a way to keep doing gig work in town and, kind of get your name out there while we're building the music for Actus Melody.
Cool. Yeah. Actus Melodi. I just talked to Kai early this morning since she's in Thailand. We we had an early one, early speak,
Yeah.
and I was saying to her that Actus Melody is totally unique.
Yeah, we definitely do some things that other bands don't do, which is for me makes it really fun, and that's why I really wanted to join this band when I hit up the guitarist. So yeah.
Yeah. Can you describe what Actus Melody sounds like?
Um, so the most basic I would say is symphonic metal, and then we do have influences of Latin music. Like our first single was like folklorico or mariachi kind of themed music, and that's because our guitarist is from Mexico, and he wanted to bring part of his culture into the music. So we decided that that would be a good first song to do. And that way, like, because we didn't have our metal song ready. So apparently, like, my cat wants to be part of the interview. So, we decided to bring that as our first one. So even though we didn't have like the metal one ready, that, we would have that opportunity to share a part of that part of the music. And we also do some of our songs in English and in Spanish.
So cool. I'm super excited to hear your next single.
That one's going to be in English.
Okay. And yeah, and like mariachi elements, symphonic metal, I guess, do you think it could fall under folk metal because it's bringing cultural elements in that are not usually a part of traditional metal?
Yeah, I think maybe eventually we're going to get there. So the first single that we had was just very kind of folklorico, like folk, but then adding opera as a new twist into it. And then this next single we're going to do is very classic, like symphonic gothic metal. And then another one we're going to do is a little bit more of kind of like a power metal, more like an epic. So but that's going to be in Spanish. And then another one we have lined up, it has kind of like a different scale used. So that one might be able to be called more folk metal. So again, this is part of the experimentation we do with our music. Is that?
Yeah, that's so cool. It's like I said, totally unique and really different and fun to see such an unusual mix. Um, I hope it like sparks some inspiration for some more people to try. Um, yeah, just something different. So
Yeah, that's part of why I really wanted to work with this band because a lot of the bands in the past I've worked with, they're like, oh, we want to sound exactly like Epica or exactly like Nightwish or exactly like Evanescence or exactly like this. And like, then why are you doing your own band and not a tribute band at that point?
you know, that's a good question.
Because it's one thing to be inspired and say like this is the music I want to do, but if you don't put your own twist on it, then it's not yours.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm
You're
glad
just
you
following a
said it.
formula at that
Okay,
point.
I'm glad you said it. So
You're like, I can't say it, so
yeah,
I'll be the one.
she said it. All right. So, when did you first realize that you loved metal music and you wanted to create more of it?
So I actually it was kind of weird because during my childhood I've liked the heavier side of music, but in America we're very tunnel visioned, I guess. Like basically the only media before the internet that we were fed was just from the radios. So they chose what we listened to. So it wasn't like, oh, like this band's coming up, they have a demo and some local radio station picked it up. It's just, everybody's listening to the same top 40 songs, rock, pop, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I liked the heavier stuff, which at the time was like Linkin Park, right? And then when Evanescence came about, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I love the heavier stuff. I love, the rock and roll heavy metal, but, I've never heard a woman sing like this on it. So that was definitely like a little window. And then once YouTube started to exist, I heard of Nightwish and I was like, oh my God. But I didn't really have anybody to introduce me to anything heavier until later when I got into bands.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got into bands, here's a funny story. My very, very first band, which was like a drummer and a bassist that I was jamming with for a while, I started to write some songs and I'm a nerd. So I was like, oh, what about Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner? Like, we could do a really cool
Yeah.
song about that. And I was starting to write the song about it. So I was like, here's the lyrics. Like, what do you think? And the drummer was like, is this about a bird?
Oh
What is
boy.
this? Like, I was like, okay. And so he was giving me crap about it, right? And then the guitarist came in. We started to get a guitarist. We were jamming with him, and then basically I got like fired from the band. And he texted me. He's like, "Well, I want you because you don't suck, right?" Then, hanging out with him, we're listening to music together, like trying to work on songs and stuff, and just listening to music in the background. And he's like, actually, Iron Maiden has a song about a bird, and I was like, what? And he showed me like Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner from Iron Maiden. I was like, this is the song I was trying to do. Oh my God, who is this band? So then from there, it just got progressive and heavier from there as far as my tastes.
Wow. Oh, there's so many parts of that story that are hilarious. Like, why does everybody think that the poem is exclusively about a bird? It's got a lot more going on than that. But
Well,
and then
yeah, yeah. Well, because he probably didn't know or have read the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, so he's just going
doesn't
off my
sound like
lyrics,
it.
and he's probably like thinking like within the first three verses, there's like a bird, the albatross, about a bird.
You know, um, another thing about that story is I don't know, maybe this is the sixth time that a guest has said Iron Maiden did a lot to inspire them. And I think that's kind of like special that so many girls were sort of are like the daughters of Dickinson. And then also about that song, I when I was a teenager, I printed out all of the lyrics in high school to that song and I put them on my wall like wallpaper. I don't
Oh,
know. Yeah, I don't know why though. It wasn't like I actually stood there and like read it daily or something like that.
it's
But it
like
was
inspiration.
yeah, it was inspiration. I thought it was so cool to see a metal band write fantasy music about great poetry. Like
Yes.
actually like the only vinyl I own that isn't a female vocalist is a couple of vinyl of read poetry. So it's just like poetry on vinyl. Um, but yeah, I love that story. And Evanescence, she was a sensation when she came
Mm-hmm.
out. She changed the radio. Did you know that the label um, that ultimately signed her, because it was hard for her to get signed, they told her and the band that they didn't want the first single to be one that she sang on. They only wanted a male singer on the first single. And she fought it. And they wanted it to be just another Linkin Park, what she said in her own words. So, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I heard that that's the whole reason why on their first single with Bring Me to Life that the guy is even on it at all.
Yeah, like,
Because they wanted that back and forth, like wake me up, wake me up, like which now people make fun of.
right,
But at the time, it was like, oh my God. But I can also see where the company was coming from because on their end, it's a business. And
right.
people were not used to like the chick singer,
Mm-hmm,
especially with like the opera tone.
mm-hmm.
So they had to kind of integrate it in that way. But again, with them being used to what they're used to, they wanted just male singers. So I guess it was like a compromise with that whole thing. And I
Imagine that.
believe that didn't Evanescence re-release that song in the original way they wanted it to, like in the last couple of years or something like that.
Ooh, I hope so. I don't actually know. I will have to look for that. Oh, that'll be cool to find.
Yeah, because I haven't heard it yet. I just, when the articles started popping up about, them coming back in and, kind of re-releasing some old songs, that was one of their goals, was to re-release the original idea of what they wanted for that. But I haven't listened to it yet. So sorry.
Check that out today. Oh, love that. Fun fact. Okay. And also just like stay true to your vision because sometimes people think that like, you got to fit in a box and obviously don't. And you know that clearly. So
Yeah, I've been told many times to be in a box, but it's taken me time to get out of that a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
A little, it's a lot of messages that everybody gets, and when we get a particular set of them. But what is your favorite piece of music equipment or stageware?
So my favorite piece of music equipment is my wireless Shure 87. I believe it's an 87C. I can't remember the pattern because I have an 87A and I have an 87C, which difference is like their direction of how they pick up the sound. Anyway, sorry, again, I'm a nerd, so excuse that. So it's a dynamic microphone that has some of the properties of a condenser microphone, and it has a large diaphragm, which is really helps to get the nuances of my large, loud voice. And then the wireless gives me freedom on stage and off, because sometimes when I'm performing, I will go off stage, like especially right before the solo or something like that. So it's really, really fun. And speaking of Maiden, I have an Iron Maiden tribute band. So usually on Number of the Beast, on the after that, like after that part, I'll go off around the audience and I'll like high five everybody in the venue while like they're still playing upstage, and then come on right before the solo. So it's really fun.
Have you ever?
And then the battery lasts forever.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to get that for the show notes. The details of that because there is no way I'm remembering the sequences of letters and numbers. But
it's like the Shure Beta 87C, something like that.
So have you ever had any problems with somebody taking video of you when you're performing with a wireless mic and messes your mic up?
No.
Okay, good mic. That's great.
Yeah, there's sometimes I will have to use my wired one. So I have like my 87A that I used in a previous band that is a hardwire, because there's certain venues that with the way the Wi-Fi is set up or the area or the building, like it will work. But I'd say about 85% of the time I can use my wireless.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If your music were a movie soundtrack, what would the movie be about?
So like you were saying before, like with Maiden, fantasy. So definitely be a fantasy movie. With the way I write in my lyrics, probably a little dystopian. My songs usually include something like with a storytelling feature, and I usually highlight darkness and spirituality. So kind of like with that first song, it's like, oh, I'm not just doing like a love song. Like, no, we're doing it about Day of the Dead. Yay.
Yeah, it has that vibe. It's very, I think, spooky. I think is a good word for it. It is a very dark romance in it.
Yeah, it's basically that song is it's sad when somebody passes away, but you have to remember that it's happy that you guys both existed at the same time, and wherever they are now, they're not suffering anymore. They don't have any, problems anymore. Like, it's you and them will always be connected.
Beautiful. Is there anything more to the movie soundtrack? We're dystopian. We're in a dark spirituality.
Yeah. So I there's some like collaborations or songs that never got released, but so this basically me practicing like what kind of lyrics I write, and like one was like it had like a darker sound to it, like our kind of music. And I was basically talking about how the whole world and society is going to fall apart because we're ruining the planet. And another one is like with spirituality. Let's just say I have some experiences that I don't tell people about. And one like story that's similar to it is basically like there's a time where there was like a man, like let's say in the 1800s, like this is one of the stories I would tell like for a song, like a man in 1800s, and there was kind of like a mafia kind of deal in town where oh, we offer protection, but they're basically extorting the whole town for money. And he stood up to them, and while he was off on a trip to sell something to market, his boy was sick, and they burned down the house of him and his wife, and he just felt so guilty about that, so his soul couldn't rest once he finally did die. And then eventually, through somebody's help, like living, he was able to see that his boy was waiting for him like across the river, like from where his soul was, waiting for him the whole time, and that he didn't have to feel guilty anymore. So that kind of thing, like it's fantasy, it's supernatural, but the core of the story is based on like events that do happen in real life.
Wow, that sounds super cool. Do you ever I know you said you don't usually tell people about these experiences you've had, but have you ever like done any writing with them, or
no, I've never written with anything I've talked to.
okay.
So yeah, I just like basically I would get the inspiration from the things that like I can sense, let's say. I don't know why Zoom does that, but
I
okay.
don't know. It was good timing though. It was very
Let's
spooky.
Thank you.
Like,
Thanks for helping me out.
bye. Okay. All right.
Welcome
All
to my
right.
life.
I won't ask any more questions.
Yeah, there's like this new Zoom feature. I guess it's supposed to highlight better like the shot or something, but it's brand new and I don't know how to turn it off right now.
Oh my god,
So,
I don't know how to turn it on. It's
it
dynamic.
says it's called center stage. And yeah,
Woo, okay.
that's why it's supposed to be more dynamic. So
Oh,
yeah.
I gotta upgrade my Zoom or something. Um,
I don't know. I turned on my Zoom on my iPad and it was like, you're not logged in, and then it worked, and I don't know.
Weird. I literally just updated my computer, but okay, nobody cares about what we're talking about right now. So, moving on. If you could play a world tour with any three bands alive today, who would you choose? Is there any city? Zoom is killing me right now.
I think that one was my cat's tail.
Okay. Okay. Who would you play with if you could go with any three people on a world tour, and what city would you like to play in?
So I'm gonna do my choices based on Actus Melodi because again, if it was me and my personal choice, there's just so many metal musicians I would love to just meet. But if we're talking about just Actus Melodi, I'd probably say Epica and Rata Blanca
Ooh,
and
ooh,
Dimmu
okay.
Borgir.
All right. Oh, debo saber verdad en otro lado estás. You're the first person to bring up Rata Blanca in all of the interviews. So,
Actually, that's one of my most viewed videos on YouTube is my two covers of La Leyenda de Lara y el Mago.
mm, wow, your Spanish sounds really good too. Do you speak it fluently? You live in Texas.
Not fluently, but I'm working on it, practicing. And that's also part of why, like, when we do the Spanish songs, I don't want to sound like a complete gringa. So, I don't want to be like doing that. But actually, my grandma was Cuban, so like when I was little, I was bilingual, and then when I moved away from her, I lost the language. But my pronunciation is still like the basis is still there.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Sounds like it's like definitely sticking around.
Yeah,
Um,
and then I live in Texas, so I have many opportunities to practice Spanish.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right. So I got really excited about Rata Blanca. You said Epica, Rata Blanca, and what?
Dimmu Borgir.
Okay. All right. Cool. That would be
I
a
love them. I have their DVD of Forces of the Northern Night.
we gotta call him.
Have
So
you heard of them before? Like, as far as like, have you seen the symphonic concert though?
no, No, okay.
Do it, watch it.
I need this for the show notes as well. I need to leave links for people. Okay, and then all right, here's a more serious question. Looking back, what was a big decision you made that turned out to be a great choice?
Yeah, so I would say it would be to go back to singing. That'd be it's like a life-changing decision. So when I was little, I loved singing. Like that was my favorite thing. I was, I'd be like at the mall performing at stages. I'd, be at my church or whatever performing. Just anytime I could sing and perform in front of tons of people, like I'd love to do it. But as I grew up and especially got into school and all that stuff, I got discouraged from it because I didn't really have real friends or anything. So, people would tell me I suck. And then I joined choir and they'd be like, you're too loud, which I thought meant I sucked. No, it was really just like my voice was that loud even when I was 8 years old. Like I was taking over a choir of kids from like, 6 years old to 13. And they're like a whole choir. And my voice would be louder than all of them,
Mm-hmm.
which is an opera voice, but I didn't know that at 8. So I thought I just sucked because they'd be like, tone it down, tone it down, tone it down. And I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
I thought I was bad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I didn't like I quit singing like publicly for a while and I didn't even sing that much at home because again, I just thought I sucked. But then I was like at a karaoke with some coworkers like later in life and they were like, "Oh my god, you're so good." And people in the karaoke bar were coming up to me and like, "Do you sing professionally? Like what is it that you do? Like you're so good." I was just like, "Okay." And so like that's when the reality started to hit like, "Oh, maybe I don't suck." And then tried out for The Voice actually after that like with some
Oh,
encouragement from coworkers. Didn't even get past the first round, not even the first round. And I was like, okay, practice some more, got some vocal lessons, did it a second time. And then the second time I did Led Zeppelin and I did Kashmir, but you're only allowed to get like one verse and one chorus kind of thing. And didn't even make it past the first round. But this time there's 10 people in each round, like in a room. And out of those 10 people, four came up to me. And, they're all the same dream, right? They're all singers wanting to make it. And four of them came up to me saying, you were fantastic. I don't know what is wrong with him. You were amazing. A girl came up to me with Led Zeppelin tattoos and said, you did such a good job. I'm so
oh,
proud of you. Don't stop singing. And then there
goosebumps.
was another girl on the phone, and she's just like, this one girl, she did this rock song and she didn't get in like that. So I was like, after that, I was like, not The Voice, but I'm going to keep doing this. And that's when I started doing dance. So I was
Amazing.
like, I guess I have to do it my own way with my music.
Oh man. And what do they even know at the voice anyway? I mean, they probably wouldn't. Yeah. Would they even accept you
Well,
as a lead?
yeah, and also like later on, growing up and seeing how the music business is, it's just like, oh, it's just a product. Like they don't want a female rock singer. That's
Right.
absolutely not what they're looking for on one of those shows, especially in America.
Right. I know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not as bad in Mexico. Like way more dudes wear like warlock shirts or like whatever. Like I was there in December and it felt like half of the shirts, like pretty close to half of the shirts that I saw guys wearing were female fronted bands. Uh, feel like there's actually a lot of American female fronted bands, and they're definitely like picking up steam with getting on fests too. But yeah, you just don't see the merch dispersed even. So,
Yeah, well, it's one of those things is like about like what I was talking about earlier with the people that were used to what America is giving you, is that
mm-hmm,
they're used to just the male fronted bands.
mm-hmm,
But if you're a metalhead and you explore a little more, some people do find that they like female fronted bands. And then when they find a few that they like, they're really dedicated to it.
yeah,
So they want to see them. Sorry, might have to cut that one out. uh, you might see they want to see them in shows. They want to get their merch. They definitely want like Ad Infinitum and Blackbriar and Seven Spires and Oceans of Slumber, like all these up and coming bands in the festivals because those fans are really dedicated and they will come to the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I really appreciate about like the fans of female fronted metal. Like they're really dedicated to it. So
Mm-hmm.
they're awesome. But like for the majority of the population that just listens to the radio, you're not going to hear any of those bands. You're going to hear like Avenged Sevenfold and the latest Five Finger Death Punch. That's it.
Yeah, maybe Hellstar, right?
Yeah, the Hailstorm, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And like she's a good singer too, but like they're more rock.
yeah, totally. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I guess maybe some like serious radio stations will play female bands because they're more niche anyway. But
Yeah.
what is a performance memory that you will never forget?
Um, Probably so I'd say it would be like my biggest concert, which was only like 150 to 200 people. So for most bands, small peanuts, but for me, like it was really cool because it was like 150 people there, but it was my last original band, which was a band called Crimsong, and we were doing like kind of steampunk symphonic metal, which
Hmm.
again also dystopian.
Ah, okay.
I did Frankenstein monster and like the Mouth of Madness, and again just like dark music, but it sounded so happy. So
Neat. That sounds cool.
yeah, it was fun, but anyway, but it was original music, so I had a huge part in like writing it, and I created all the melodies for what I sang, so it was basically my music. So I had 150 people all like intently watching and loving this music. So that was a huge thing for me, is just staring into a room of people where they all loved it.
Oh,
So it
hell
was just
yeah.
so cool, because it's one thing if you have like 1,000 people, half of them are on their phones, you know, but this
Yeah.
is like 150 people. They were all staring and watching, just like their faces were like what is this? I want
Melted.
more of this. Show me more. And then also, why I can't forget that is that that day I was sick and
Oh.
I couldn't speak. My voice was so like it felt tight, and I was drinking tea all freaking day with honey, like all day, and I couldn't even speak. I was like that.
Oh God.
And then I was like, oh my God, I don't even know if I want to sing, but I was just trusting myself and my like detox of tea that I was doing the entire day. And I got up there, did the whole set, and symphonic metal, so it's quite a range of notes. And then I was just like, after the set, I was like, I was still sick. And like people came up to me and they're like, you were fantastic, you were amazing. And one of my friends at the time, she was like, Liz, that was the best set you've ever done. And I was just like,
That's so weird. I wonder why it worked out like that.
yeah. So it was crazy because it was just like that moment, and just everything I described before, plus the fact that I did it while I was sick, and I didn't even know if I was going to be able to sing up until 5 minutes before that, because I didn't even warm up. I literally was just like, whatever I got this much of it.
Wow.
So I'll never forget that night.
I love that. Oh man, that makes me excited to see you perform in the future.
I love performance. That's my absolute favorite part, besides like the actual creation. Like that's my favorite part.
Oh, that's inspiring. Um, do you have any new announcements for us?
Yes. So I was giving a little hint before. So Actus Melodi just recorded our next single. We are in the process of listening to the final mixes, so it should be out this year. And we're working our way up to an EP. So we do have 2 or 3 more songs that we're starting to work on. And hopefully, that means we'll have shows by like next year or so.
That is so tight. American symphonic metal with a I think a pretty big influence from Mexico. It's gonna be awesome. So excited for the next one. Where can we listen to your music and how can we follow what you do?
Yes, so I will say the two. So basically, me as a singer, I'm Nisayas. So she's going to have the spelling on this interview, so you guys can type it up
With the S.
with the S.
Yeah.
But also, like, nobody knows Nisayas. What is that? Well, I'm Nisayas. Okay, that's all I need to know.
I love it.
um, so you can search Nisayas on YouTube, on Instagram. Facebook, and TikTok. So some of those platforms it's just Nisayas, some will be Nisayas music, but either way, if you type up Nisayas, I'm the only one that pops up. So easy peasy. And then Actus Melodi, and also weird spelling. So also check the spelling on the YouTube right here. On the same platforms. So you just type in Actus Melodi and it'll be either that or Actus Melodi official. It just depends on the platform. So yeah.
Yeah, easy.